Everybody for taking the time to join the call today. Today we are going to talk about Lime. But just quickly before we get into Lime, for those of you that aren't familiar with Loop1, I'll give you a little bit of a background. So I co-founded the company in 2009. And our mission, as we have here on our opening slide, is to engage good people who thrive on learning from each other, working together, and delivering exceptional value as a leader in enterprise services. We do provide services worldwide. We've got our offices here in Austin, Texas, as well as in Cork, Ireland. And what really sets us apart from the rest of the partner universe is that we've delivered more than 3,000 engagements to clients of all sizes, including some of the largest businesses in the world, as well as a lot of state and federal government clients around the world as well. So we're here to talk about Lime, and I'll start by talking a little bit about what is Lime and how did we come up with this name. Lime is the Loop1 Monitoring Maturity Model, and it is something that is not really new, but rather an evolution of what Loop1 has done for the last 10 years, as well as what I've done really over my entire career. And so Lime is just a shortening of the name. We had Loop1, the Monitoring Maturity Model, which is L1M3, and L1M3, if you read it like a geek, is Lime. So why did we build Lime? Well, Lime is here to help organizations in their mission to deliver IT. And as we know, organizations exist for a lot of different reasons, and they use technology differently. Everything from Fortune 500 clients to educational clients to healthcare to finance to nonprofit organizations. Everybody has applications that they need to deliver to run their businesses. And so that's what IT exists to do, right? Is to help ensure that applications are available, that they're fast, and that they're secure. And your monitoring story, your monitoring journey needs to help ensure that application delivery, but also being business focused or organizationally focused. If you're only getting basic monitoring functionality out of your tools and your tools aren't really helping you to run the business or the organization, then there's further for them to go, and that's what Lime is about. In the last 20 plus years, monitoring has changed a lot too. Traditionally, we saw monitoring as a network team function. Many of the tools that we use for monitoring were born out of network team needs. And when we started teaching our classes back in 2010, we would see 60% plus of the clients that would come in generally had a title that was network something, network engineer, network administrator, and that's not the case anymore. Today, our clients are specialized, and more than 60% of the people that we meet when we travel around and we attend SolarWinds user group events, we find that people have titles that reflect the reality that they are now doing monitoring work as a full-time job. And that covers a wide spectrum of what that work can look like. Sometimes it's tools, sometimes it's reporting, and there are different tiers. There are small teams of 1 or 2 people, all the way up to dedicated teams of many, many people that are focused on monitoring and monitoring platforms. So it's not just about the network anymore. And applications are becoming the core of the conversation, but with that understanding that applications have that tier of dependencies that really provides application delivery. And I want to really emphasize for a moment that while there was an era where that security was something we did to clean up things that we should have done right the first time, that's not really the case anymore either. When I talk to experts throughout the industry, the story is changed. People now get it. Everybody is working on security from inception. Security and data privacy and the best practices associated with those have really become a part of our day-to-day operations, and they need to continue to do so. And some organizations are further along than others, but overall, security is not the afterthought that it used to be. And despite that, monitoring strategies remain scattered. People are all over the place. And there's not really any one organization to blame. You can't blame the vendors because the vendors are being client-focused, but vendor-centric. They're not there to tell the story about how to integrate your tools. And as the vendors produce the tools that they're making, they're not always monitoring centric. Our tools are oftentimes featuring some administration capabilities as well as monitoring capabilities. And so the lines are becoming blurred between administration and monitoring. And yet IT management is as complex as it's ever been, and yet it's still unique for every organization. Nearly everybody uses Cisco, Microsoft, VMware, Amazon, Azure, you name it. There's all these common platforms out there. But all of the folks that I talk to year in and year out, we all use them slightly uniquely. We all have slightly different objectives and goals. We all have slightly different metrics that we care more about than others might care. And so the standards bodies of the world haven't really helped us. If you've been on Google lately and you've searched for keywords like monitoring standards or application monitoring standards, or anything around sort of a holistic approach to your monitoring solutions, the results aren't there. You'll see Loop1 start to occupy that space because you search for that and you'll start to see Lime there in the near future. But the stuff that does come back is maybe a vendor here or there that's sort of maybe, you know, done some work to leverage the keywords, but there's not really a solution. Years ago, there was a solution that we would talk about called FCAPS. And today, I meet clients that have never even heard of FCAPS. And so we're not going to get into the details of FCAPS today, but that model hasn't evolved and it hasn't persisted. We also have ITIL, right, for those of you that are familiar with it, but it is massive. It can be overwhelming and it can be really difficult to translate to smaller organizations. And it's also a bit vendor agnostic, so it can be difficult to translate to real world. And another conversation that I've had around this whole question of being vendor agnostic is that it's really difficult to be vendor agnostic and still provide real world value. One of the organizations that I sort of held up in years past as a great vendor agnostic provider of guidance has been CompTIA. And CompTIA still does a terrific job with the Network Plus and the Security Plus exams that they offer, but they struggle because they have a mission to be vendor agnostic, and so mapping those things back to the real world can be difficult. So we're not really trying to be vendor agnostic. What we are trying to do is fill the void. So Lime is here to do that. Lime is designed to provide an easy framework for organizations to talk about your monitoring goals and understanding how well you're meeting those goals to measure your success. We want to simplify the conversation, but not simplify the implementation. We know that doing comprehensive monitoring for application delivery is still complex, but we've got to have a starting point to be able to have the conversation. We've got to be able to have a common reference point to figure out how far along are we? How well are we doing in this journey? And we are intentionally not vendor agnostic. We intend to bring best of class tools to our clients through Lime. We want to be able to do that at different scale, and we want to be able to do it at different price points. And so for today, we are unabashedly aligned with SolarWinds, and we will continue to be unabashedly aligned with SolarWinds. SolarWinds has earned the right. They are the industry's best foundation for monitoring of all types. They own 25% of the monitoring market share, and they do a really good job at providing solutions for everyone, not just one small part of the segment of monitoring needs. And they listen to us. They listen to their clients. They have one of the best, if not the best, community in the industry with their THWAC online community, right? And their SolarWinds user group events, I think, set the standard for what a vendor event should look like when they do travel out into the world and connect with their clients face to face, so that they can get your feedback, so that they can listen to what your needs are, and so that they can adapt their products to meet those needs. And so that makes it really, really easy for Loop1 to align ourselves to SolarWinds and to take the Lime model and leverage the platforms that they have to offer to help fulfill those Lime goals around monitoring. Their existing integrations are really strong, and that's a big part of the Lime story. Lime without integrations wouldn't be Lime. And so one of the features of SolarWinds, if you're in the Orion platform, that we're a big proponent of is AppStack. AppStack requires an investment in a number of different tools, but if it's an investment that you'll make, the value that you get back from the automatically correlated data is really, really high quality data and high quality value. And they don't stop there. They have really invested terrifically over the last several years in their SDK. And so doing third-party integrations with SolarWinds is as good as it's ever been and continues to get better. And here at Loop1, we're making that investment right alongside them. We now employ more developers on our staff. It's a total of nearly 5 today out of our 50 employees than we've ever employed. In years past, Loop1 approached third-party integrations as something that we did when people asked for it. And over the last 2 years, we've really shifted that conversation to helping drive third-party integrations so that you can get more value out of your platforms, both SolarWinds and others. And so as you may not know, we already work with a lot of other vendors, but we don't talk about them much. And so you'll see that start to change about Loop1 as well as we continue on the Lime journey. We work with ServiceNow, we work with Splunk, we work with Yahoo for automation, we work with NetScout for wire data, we work with Runecast for compliance on VMware, we work with Rapid7 for security. And these aren't just tools that we work with, these are tools that we work with because they're great at what they do, they have a place in the industry in terms of being the best at what they do, and our clients have asked for it. Our clients are using these tools and many others as well, but these are just some that we're highlighting. So as we go forward with Lime and as we go forward with partnering with you to deliver your monitoring goals, we will continue to integrate with third-party solutions. So this is Lime. It's designed as a simple grid that will let you easily see where you are and compare that to where you would like to be. It's something that reflects an ability to mature your overall monitoring journey, while at the same time speaking to each of the technologies and the teams that support the different platforms throughout your organization. We understand that security is an integrated and intrinsic part of our day-to-day. Compliance, privacy, and data rights can't be an afterthought. And so they're integrated into Lime. As you go through the Lime grid, you'll find countless keywords and messages that speak to security best practices, compliance, audit, and remediation. And so security and compliance are intrinsic to Lime as well. So here we have it. It's a simple framework, right? On that top bar there, we see this maturity progression. And on the left side, we have the technology tiers. So for some organizations, the technology tiers are managed by just a few people. You might have 1 or 2 people doing network and another couple of people doing server and application. But as your organization grows and gets more complex, it's very likely that you'll have a dedicated team for each one of these categories. And while we don't call cloud out explicitly here, there's a reason for that too. I think we can all agree that cloud is just other people's hardware. So while containers need to be identified, and there's definitely a place to speak to the way that cloud delivery happens, it is a part of Lime as well. We're not overlooking cloud. We're treating cloud as part of the integrated story, just like we're treating security as part of the integrated story. What we're really here to talk about today is how the story progresses in terms of maturity, because this is really just the beginning of a series of webinars that we'll do where we'll go more in depth on some of the approaches to how we use Lime. But let's start briefly by talking about what it means for an organization to be at an ad hoc maturity level. Well, I think we've all been there at some point in our career. It's very reactionary. You might be called a firefighter. You might not have the tools that you need. You very likely don't have visibility into all of the different parts of your environment. And so you really don't have much of a choice except to be completely reactive and completely ad hoc. Hopefully, you're beyond this point where you're at right now. If you're on this call, you probably own SolarWinds and you're probably closer to typical or maybe even optimized. But next, what we talk about is being fragmented. And again, for each of the different tiers, we've got some keywords there that describe what it means to be fragmented. But overall, what it means is that you have some capabilities, but they're largely incomplete. Your capabilities are lacking sharing of information. Your capabilities are lacking feature completeness. Maybe you bought a tool and it's got 5 features and you've only implemented one of them. I'm talking to all you NCM owners out there right now that all you do is back up your devices and you're missing out on all those other great NCM features. So fragmented means you're on the right path, you've made some progress, but you've got a long way to go. And that brings us to what we call typical. And quite frankly, we call it typical because this is where we find most Loop1 clients. You have good tools in a lot of places, but your tools aren't yet really integrated in a lot of ways, and you still have some information sharing that's perhaps not happening, and you still have a lot of unfinished work. You may have excessive alerting, you may have some audits that have shown vulnerabilities or shown compliance issues, but you haven't been able to really complete the compliance work. So in a typical organization that's at a typical monitoring maturity level, there's still plenty of work left to be done, but your day-to-day is pretty good. Your day-to-day is at a place where major outages aren't happening, and when there are issues, they're detected relatively quickly, and you're not losing sleep every night because you know that your tools are not meeting your needs, but you know in the back of your mind there's more you could be doing if you just had the time or the roadmap or the money, right? Or the staff. And so Loop1 is here to help with all of that. And what we really do through most of the engagements that we're working on, at least in part, if not in whole, is we help clients move to being in what we call an optimized state. And this is where you're really starting to see more automation, more automatic correlation, better alert performance so that you're not getting notifications on things that aren't actionable, while still having performance visibility and not getting overloaded by performance alerts that are not actionable, for example. There is very likely specialized tools in place for each of the tiers. You may own a tool like Database Performance Analyzer as opposed to only owning SAM. You may own Virtualization Manager as opposed to only owning NPM and SAM. And so this is really where we do start to tie closely to strategies like SolarWinds AppStack. We really believe that to be optimized, one of the fastest ways to get there is to own the tools that make up the AppStack functionality within SolarWinds. And so we will be happy to go on that journey with you. If looking at Lime is making you interested to know more about what you can be doing with the AppStack tools, which tools are included, how they're used, then we're happy to share that with you and help you implement those tools to get to an optimized state. Being optimized really means that you're getting close to making business use of your tool's data. You're probably doing some business use of your tool's data if you're optimized, but there's more you could be doing. So some examples here might be you have Virtualization Manager helping you to manage or the next year for planning purposes, for budgeting purposes. And so those are some of the easiest things that our clients start to do as they get into the optimized state, is they're able to look at the data coming from their IT tools, whether it's SolarWinds or ServiceNow or Splunk or any of the other tools that we might integrate with SolarWinds. And based on the information in the IT tools, you're able to make business decisions, staffing decisions, budgeting decisions, planning decisions. And so then that, of course, brings us to an organization that we consider insightful. And to be insightful is not so much a place that you get to and then you stop, but it's a place that you get to and then you have a roadmap that continues to improve and account for the way you use your tools and driving great business capabilities out of that tool data. An example of this today might be an organization running 10 or 15 different IT tools, but leveraging things like a Tableau dashboard, or maybe Power BI, or maybe even just SQL reporting services. Here at Loop1, we're developing new products to help drive the use of IT tools and consolidated dashboards without having to go to the lengths of a tool like Tableau. If you're interested in learning more about that, we call it Harmony, and you can visit harmony.tech to see a little glimpse of what the future holds there. But the idea is that being insightful means that your tools are integrated, that your tools can aggregate data effectively no matter the size of your organization, and that through the aggregation and the integration, you can pull data from your tools to make really good business decisions, potentially business decisions that can help drive the profitability of your organization or help drive student experience for registrations during the peak times that students love attending your institution because your software is so good, or drive business performance because maybe you're Netflix and your tools are able to help you deliver more programming with less buffering, right? I mean, good tools and good tool data can affect business bottom line. And so part of what we're doing here at Loop One is working to take the message not only to practitioners, folks like network administrators and database administrators and storage administrators, but also to IT leadership, and to work with IT leadership to help understand how we bring tools together and how we bring teams together to drive those business values. Because as you move up the responsibility and the leadership chain inside an organization, your focus begins to shift away from day-to-day operations, which is a piece of what you do. But the reason that you do it is for business success and organization success. And that's generally not defined by uptime. It's usually defined by some metric that is either financial or tied to delivery of whatever your organizational goals are. We want to help your teams bring that IT tool data into that conversation because we know that it works. We've seen it in a handful of clients that have been to this level and have demonstrated that this is something that all organizations can aspire to. But we also know that there's a lot of organizations that still live in a more typical or maybe optimized world, and Insightful's not quite where they've been able to get to yet. And that's the other benefit that Loop One brings to the story. We know what it looks like. We know what it looks like when you get there because we've been there. And we know how to help you get there. And we know that if you don't have time and staff and budget, that there's ways that we can work with you to help get more from the time and staff and budget that you do have. So here we have it. This is Lime in its whole simple self. And we are making it available to everybody here in the webinar today as a download. If you look at your materials in the handouts, you can download the Lime summary and take it and put it to use. Test it in your organization. See what happens as you look at maybe the area that you care most about, or as an IT leader, look at a particular maturity level and see where you feel like your organization is. We've done this many times with many clients prior to the release of Lime to the larger audience. And so far, we've had very, very good feedback. I've had technical folks look at this and say it's brilliant and it's spot on for their particular technology domain. And I've had leadership look at it and go, this makes a lot of sense to me. I can use this with my team to help understand where we're at and where we're going. And boy, it really brings value from Loop One to our organization, because you're helping us put this into a perspective that our teams can really collaborate on, and our leadership and our practitioners can really connect with each other. And so whatever your experience is, please share it with us. You can email me directly, billfitz@loop1.com. It's an easy way to reach me. Let me know what your thoughts are as you start to take a look at Lime in your organization and find out whether it makes sense for you or if there's some tweaks in here that you think might be appropriate. And so there we go. The grid is just the beginning. As we know, every technology has things that are common in how we monitor them, and then they have things that are unique in how we monitor them. Availability is a very simple concept, but it drives complex architectures. Availability drives load balancing, and it drives web farms, and it drives high availability designs into our virtualization tiers and our database tiers. And so while availability is this simple concept, and our tools are terrific at seeing availability, how you map that into a complex architecture is what we are experts at doing. Performance, and performance comes in so many different categories, whether it's CPU and memory and disk IO or disk queue length and some of the things that we take for granted as obvious measuring points. There are thousands of metrics that we can end up looking at that bring value back into an organization, depending on what tier we're talking about. database metrics, query performance, storage hotspots, network performance and bandwidth and links, but network performance and voice processing, network performance and voice quality, right? Application performance from an end user perspective, or application performance from server load and virtualization perspective. The combinations are vast and complicated, and we have a handle on it all. Through the model and through our experience and through the tools that we know work, we can help your organization get a handle on it too. If you're not already there, and if you are, we can help you take it further. And then finally, security. None of this makes sense without compliance, right, and security. And so SolarWinds today has brought to market some really valuable new tools, things like Server Configuration Monitor, as well as the newly renamed Server Event Manager, formerly LEM, and NCM is another tool that has always provided great compliance capabilities. And there are other new tools in the mix for SolarWinds as well. So while people maybe haven't always considered SolarWinds a security organization, it is a pillar that they have invested heavily in, and there are really valuable tools that we can make use of as part of our security of compliance and audit approach and the LIME model. So as we go forward with the LIME series, what you'll see are specialized series that talk just about application monitoring or network monitoring or virtualization monitoring. But in each case, as we look at what we're presenting, it will be tied back into that overall story, that overall integration, the third-party considerations to be able to bring data from other platforms alongside the SolarWinds data to really help drive business value. And so that's the other point of LIME, right? Is the grid is just the beginning, and the integrations are part of where the business value comes from, and it's what you can rely on our team to provide. We're investing in the development capabilities, and we want to bring those development capabilities to you. So DevOps is not a foreign word to Loop1, and our team is ready to engage and help on DevOps style projects and integration projects. And so that's really the takeaway from the story today. For those of you that have taken the 30 minutes or so to listen to me talk about LIME, we're here to partner with you. We're here to understand your journey. We're here to understand your organization. We're here to bring our knowledge, our experience, and our capabilities to make your journey go farther with the tools that you already own and you want to get more out of them, or tools that you think you may need so that you can get them implemented, get the maximum value from them, and get them integrated so that you can drive business value and not just IT value.